forces, at least in the kind of society I live in. I don't know what it's like to live in China or Libya. I'm just saying, like in London, like what you're
Too much
hit with.
emphasis on immediate gratification.
Too much emphasis on, because immediate gratification is a tool of consumerism. This would be my argument. So, like, but at this point in the program, it's where the spirituality becomes, I find personally, undeniable. That you have to call to something else. You have to, in a sense, lay yourself open. The idea of prayer becomes quite important. Now,
see, so there's a Jungian idea there. So the Jungian self is the thing that guides the ego through transformations. So imagine the ego, which is what you think you are. Well, the thing about the ego is that the ego can be wrong, and the ego can die and be reborn. So what that indicates is that there's something underneath the ego that can guide that process of transformation. And partly what you're calling on when you call on this higher power is, at least from a psychological perspective, it's a decision to rely on that thing that can guide you through transformations.
Yes, because surely, as we said, in relation to another, we are likely relating to a set of coordinates that we impose on, inverted commas, the female. The same would be true of the self, that we have created an impression, an egoic impression. We have constructed an artificial self, but beneath it there is a higher self or an ulterior self that can
it's often composed of things that you refused to or weren't willing to develop. And so when Jung talks about, for example, the incorporation of the shadow, is that you've constructed an ego and there's things it can do and can't do, that it's allowed to do and it isn't allowed to do. And then there's a shadow domain that would consist of those things that you could do but haven't. And some of that's terrible, but some of it's what you need to break free.
Is there infinite variety in the shadow, or are there sort of templates there? Would you say that, a common component of the shadow is aggression?
Aggression and lust are the two, because they're the two that are most
uncivilized.
Yeah, they're the two that are most difficult to integrate into the ego, because aggression destroys, and of course lust subsumes the individual to sexual desire.
It's lust is identified as a very powerful self. It can subsume. So I suppose that's why a lot of theological doctrines focus on the control of lust. And there is, of course,
it's a disruptive force, because, for example, if you make a medium to long-term relationship with someone and you negotiate that provides you with a stable structure that can operate across your entire life. It's good for you, it's good for them, it's good for your kids, it's good for society. But then if you're really attracted to someone momentarily, you can be driven to act on that, and all the rest of that can burn up. It's not good. And so it's no wonder that it's viewed as a force of tremendous disruption. Now, it's also a force of tremendous life, right? Because you want to be attracted to people. You want to have that vital libido as part of what's driving you forward, but hopefully it's on your side and not working against you. And so, if you're successful and you've put yourself together and you're disciplined, you should still be maximally sexually attractive, but it should be under your control. You're not the puppet of that force anymore. It's integrated into you, and that's a much better way to manage it.
How do you, in